Hey guys, welcome back to the live stream. So tonight we actually for the first time have a topic. I would love to give credit to whoever came up with tonight's topic, but for the life of me I can't remember because it's been a week since our last live stream. But anyway, whoever you are, I appreciate it. It might have been Nick. I don't remember for sure, but I appreciate the topic idea. So tonight's topic is what does the industry look like kind of post-COVID, and does it change, and what does that kind of look like across the board? So because I don't have a day job, this is my day job doing all of this. I actually went and did some research on the subject. And hey Brian, I already got somebody here in the lobby. That's cool. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. So I actually went this past week and did some research. What's up, AP? AP, you are from Scotland, right? Which is freaking sweet that you showed up 2 weeks in a row now at, what is it, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning there? So I will get back to the hellos in just a second. So just all that to say, so this past week I actually spent some time doing some research, not only in a couple Facebook groups of heavy equipment operators, but then I actually went to some of my old customers from when I used to sell equipment, talked to some of my old employers, basically kind of got a different walks of life idea of what everyone's opinion is on post-COVID. And I have my own opinions. My own opinions are, I honestly think, sorry, gotta stop bumping that mic. I honestly think if anything is going to happen post-COVID, things will only get better. And that, in all honesty, seems to be the consensus I'm getting from everyone. So I got a variety of answers from guys over in Seattle, Washington. I had some guys out in the California area. I had guys in Arizona respond. I talked to a couple contractors in Texas. And then here in the Michigan area, I had a couple contractors that I spoke with personally that are my old customers. The consensus seems to be kind of here, present COVID. There is a slowdown on the commercial side simply because permits are a lot slower to get a hold of, because most government offices are still running at kind of non-top tier levels. A lot of government offices, as a matter of fact, are running a skeleton crew still, as hard to believe as that is. And so the permitting process is like just unbelievably slow. So commercial work tends to be a little slower because of the bottleneck of getting permits and getting anything done, inspections, stuff like that. The residential side, on the other hand, this is kind of my own anecdotal evidence, combined with the guys that I've been talking to. Residential seems to be booming, and I honestly don't see that slowing down anytime soon. And then kind of post-COVID, what does that look like? Now that the government offices will be back full bore, you've got all those employees there, the inspectors are all back on full time. I only see that getting better, as do most of the guys that I spoke with. From an equipment sales standpoint, there is still a little bit of a lag for those guys simply because we did just get a new administration in, and a lot of guys are just a little hesitant to see what the Biden administration has to offer. And so there will be a little bit of a lag on that standpoint, or from that standpoint. That being said, I don't foresee, unless Biden does something crazy, was it a shock that he shut down the pipelines? Yeah, maybe. I think the shock was more that he actually did it, but he came into it full, like everyone knew that's what he was going to go after, were the pipelines, and he did. He shut down the pipelines. But that's it. There hasn't been a next step, like he's systematically going after the construction industry. And so I don't foresee Biden's administration doing anything that's just going to crazily upset the economy and really cause the bottom to fall out on this thing in the next year. I could be totally wrong, and we may get a year from here or 6 months from here, and I may eat my words, but that's just kind of where I'm at with everything. So yeah, general consensus is the industry's booming. It's going to continue to boom post-COVID. There's just a lot going on right now in the construction industry. So hopefully that makes some of you guys out there feel a little bit better. Now I'm going to focus my attention over here, or I should say over here for you guys, to the comments, and start saying hello to some of you guys. But also, those of you who are tuned in and listening, let me know your thoughts over in the comments. Would love to hear where you guys are at, what you guys are seeing in your particular sector. So, AP, Oh, that's right. Okay, so you are from England. I am doing awesome. Thanks for asking. Had a really exciting week. Um, so the last couple weeks have actually been really exciting for my wife and I because the YouTube channel is starting. What you find starting a YouTube channel is like you trudge along with no progress for the longest time. And then you start getting this curve, and then the curve gets steeper and steeper and steeper. And we're really starting to get into that steep part of the curve. So we've actually gained 700 subscribers in the last 30 days, somewhere around there. Income has gone up, I think $20 or $30 in revenue over the last 30 days. So, baby steps. I'm not ranking in a bunch of cash yet, but really exciting, great week. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. Brian, that's okay. I know that's Celsius, but still, that's an ungodly, ridiculously cold temperature. I think here in Michigan, we're supposed to get down to, well, shoot, our high today was like 11. We're supposed to get down to 2. That's Fahrenheit. I have no idea what that is Celsius, but mine is 44 wind chill. That's brutal. I've told you guys before, I'm a Texas boy. I don't do that stuff. James, good to see you. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate you coming out every time. By the way, we're going to loosen up a little on this one because it's still technically the weekend, and I edit videos on Mondays, so I don't have anything pressing tomorrow, so it is what it is. And my wife just got back from a trip, and she brought me this. What's up, Jimmy? Thanks for coming out, man. We missed you last week. I actually talked about you in last week's live stream, so if you didn't get to see that, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I did talk about you. You're a great resource for guys here in the comments. Glad to see you back, man. James, that's a great point. There have been material issues, and that was actually one of the comments that one of the salesmen that I talked to made, one of my old sales buddies, is that especially on anything steel related, you're seeing some pretty big delays just because most of the plants are shut down. The steel mills have been really slow. Equipment sales, while sales themselves have slowed a little bit, the biggest hurdle is actually having equipment in the yard to sell. It's hard to get your hands on equipment right now. So yes, totally understand, or I totally agree. Materials are an issue. Yeah, Jimmy's confirming kind of what I was saying there, that the permitting process, the problem is, I want to be careful with the COVID stuff because it's become such a political thing, and I don't want to go full political, and I don't, that's not what any of this is about. But that being said, it has been very interesting to me how kind of the real world focuses here where, yes, COVID is real 100%. There's a percentage of the population that you absolutely need to shelter yourself and be really careful. And then, the rest of everybody is kind of, you may get it and it's going to be a really bad flu and it's going to suck, but it's almost, and this is my personal opinion, it's almost like the government offices have kind of used this as an excuse to just work from home a lot. I don't know if it's like the cost-cutting measures. They see it as an opportunity to just kind of cut down on office costs. But again, I don't want to get political. That's not what this is about. But it is interesting to me that you've got restaurants back open and bowling alleys back open and pretty much everything's back open. But the government offices, it's not even like they've brought part of the people back, the employees back. They're still operating like it's week 1 of COVID. So that's kind of frustrating. But, it is what it is. Ooh boy, grading roads in the wintertime, Brian, in that sort of temperature, it's not so bad when you're in a heated cab, I guess. So, I mean, if nothing breaks down, great, but the second you have a breakdown or you got to get out of that cab, no thanks. And here's Jimmy rubbing it in. I'm assuming you're in Southern California then, Jimmy. So, I need to schedule a trip to come see you and work on your crew during this part of the year so that I can thaw myself back out. Which, speaking of, next Saturday. So before I forget, and someone try to remember, if you guys are, any of you guys are still in here at the end of the live stream, please try to remember or remind me to tell everyone this again. Next week, I'm not doing a live stream because I'm going to be in Kentucky doing exactly what I just talked about doing with Jimmy. I've got a guy that I met through the YouTube channel down in Kentucky he's got a 963 track loader seat waiting for me to come run. It's been a dream of mine to run one of those track loaders basically my entire career, and we don't have them up here in Michigan really, so I've never gotten the opportunity to. He said, come on down to Kentucky, and I said, you say when? And it turns out that's next week. So next Sunday, we will not be doing a live stream. We will skip that week and then pick up the following week. So like I said, if you guys are still in here by the time we wrap up, please someone remind me to say that again. Yeah, James, that's the problem. It's such a touchy subject because it's almost like there's two camps. There's the you don't believe it, it's fake, or there's the hypersensitive, like we have to totally lock down. And then there's like this small group of people that are in the middle kind of going, hey, there's a middle ground here. And I personally, that's where I find myself, is that middle ground. But it's become so polarizing that there's not a whole lot of people in the middle ground, and you've got to be careful how you talk about it, because generally you're going to upset one of the two camps, and it's like, that's not what this is about. Oh, I should turn my little name tag on down here so people know what we're talking about and who I am. Yeah, that's, like I said, James is just further confirming that this is kind of everyone's general thoughts in the construction industry. Is permits and everything have been a lot slower to get, but that tends to be the bottleneck, and outside of that, the business is still booming like normal, and construction's going like crazy. So yeah, I don't really, yeah, AP, I agree. This is not an American issue. This is absolutely a global issue. It could be because we're very America-centric, as the entire globe knows. But I feel like as an American, this has really brought out a lot of America people that there's a, how do I say this without coming off as a complete a-hole? There's a good portion of our population here in America that is all about freedom to the extent that everything else gets trampled. And don't get me wrong, this country was founded on freedom, and it's huge, and it's an integral part of our nation. But I guess where I've struggled with COVID is it's really brought out the selfishness in our country. I kind of think about it in the way that I teach my 6 and my 4-year-old, is that, excuse me, like, we all want to do what we want to do, but at the end of the day, you have to think about other people and how it will impact other people. I'm trying to convey this to my 4 and 6-year-old. And I feel like there's a lot of people in America that are adults, and I'm still like, you still haven't grasped that concept that yes, freedom is very important, and that's one of the things that this country is founded on. But at the end of the day, you have to think about how your actions impact other people. And yeah, you and everyone you know may be super healthy and super fit and may not have any issues. But unbeknownst to you, you may wear your mask around someone that has an in-law or a spouse that is sitting at home that doesn't have an immune system because they're going through cancer treatments, or they've got HIV, or you have to think about those people. It's not just about your personal freedoms all the time. And that's why I think that in America this has been so polarizing, is because first of all, we're Americans and freedom is first. And then secondly, I hate to rag on my fellow Americans, but we're kind of a selfish nation to begin with. So unfortunately, it's just brought out a lot of nastiness in a lot of people, and that's both sides. In all honesty, the anti-maskers and the diehard maskers have equally both been really selfish and really nasty to the other side, and it's just not how you treat people. So, let's see here. I'm really hoping with the vaccines, by May or June, we start to return to some state of normalcy. I actually had to go in for a physical this week, and I was talking to the doctor, and I said, look, as we hear things in the news, but I said, as a healthcare professional, kind of what's your estimate on the rollout of the vaccine? And she said, it's honestly, unless something drastically changes, It's going to be pretty late in the year. She said we didn't even get a round of COVID vaccinations on this last distribution. So it was, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago since they got their last round of COVID vaccinations, because there's just a shortage, and it's not being able, they're not able to distribute the vaccine as quickly as they can necessarily administer it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on actually like the business side of it, where, you know, if we want to talk politics, you know, well, the problem is we've got AP in here and he's not even involved in American politics. So, you know, to go into how the election might impact the industry and everything, I don't know. You guys tell me where you want to take this topic, because I've kind of spent all of my research in the first 20 minutes here, and I am out of research. So from here, the conversation can go anywhere, or we can double back to it. But you guys tell me what you want to talk about this evening, because I am out for a second. And I'm sorry I keep bumping this microphone. It's a little lower tonight. I've got to angle back towards me a little bit to give it better sound, but as a result, I keep bumping it. That's true, James, but the real question is it because America is powerful as a country, or is it because we all bitch about it so loudly that we make it everybody else's problem? That's the real question. Oh my gosh, the Trump-Biden thing. I feel like we were the world's soap opera. And actually, no. That's even too classy. I feel like we were the world's version of a Cops episode. And that's how it's been for like the last at least couple of years. So yeah, not the happiest of times here in the States, but it is what it is. I'm glad we provided you guys with a lot of entertainment. But yeah, it's been a little rough down here. Boy, it's kind of dead in here tonight. I was hoping for a little, we were building steam there for a couple weeks, and it's kind of tapered off a little bit. I'm hoping maybe guys are just kind of waiting for the conversation to get rolling. Absolutely, Jimmy. Thank you. What kind of tractors do we want to talk about? What are you running out there in California as far as dozers, Jimmy? How big are I should ask, what sector are you kind of working in? Are you in like big land balancing jobs? Are you in more residential stuff? Kind of what kind of equipment are you running out there? Because you guys get into the big pan operations out there. Like at SoCal Earth Movers, I love watching his channel because he gets into the huge fleets of scrapers. I love watching those guys. They move mountains in a day. It's unreal. Brian, do I own a business? I own Diesel and Iron Productions, which is, so what you guys see is I have a YouTube channel, and that's kind of what I do for the most part. That's 80 to 90% of what I do. On the back end, though, I actually do some media production for just independent guys. So I've actually, the guy who did my website, modinteractive.com, and the company that did my website is Mod Interactive. I'm personal friends with the owner, Dominic. He needed someone to do some video and photo work for him for some of his clients because he doesn't have the ability to do it. So I partnered up with him kind of as the picture video guy, and he ran with the website side. So we've got oh, Brian, good point. I didn't even think about that. So that's one of the disadvantages to not following sports, is I was totally oblivious to the Super Bowls tonight. That makes total sense. So it is going to be light in here. But anyway, to go back to that, I do some production work. In fact, the Braun tile plow video that posted this week, I actually sent that over to Braun, the manufacturer of the plow, and just said, hey, you guys put out a good machine. Here's a video I put together for a buddy of mine. And they contacted me back and said, hey, do you want to do some video work for us? So that's what I do with my business. I basically focus on video production work. I had a landscape business when I lived in Texas, tried my hand at that. Unfortunately, when you're trying to do a lawn care landscaping business down in Texas, where you're just north of the border, and there are unfortunately a lot of illegal immigrants in the area, I couldn't compete. And so I was in business for about a year and a half, roughly. I can't remember exactly how long we were in business for. Was actually in the process of transitioning over to window cleaning, which in the Austin area and some of your larger markets, you want to talk about a gold mine. Window cleaning, I was making an average of $10 a window. Just and it wasn't super hard. I mean, you can go to Home Depot and get professional grade like window cleaning products, and then any of the specialty stuff that you want to get into, you can get online. I want to say I started my window cleaning setup for like $120, and that was everything I needed. And we started flying through houses. Unfortunately, I had spent all of my marketing money on the lawn care and landscape that wasn't pulling in any money, so we ended up going out of business. But all that to say, you want to talk about a fantastic education? Go start your own company. It's amazing how much you learn. AP, I'm glad we're not boring you, because, if you started going on about the wigs and the... what are your... see, that's, again, Americans are American-centric. I don't even know what your political parties are over there, so the second you would start going off, I think I would just kind of glaze over because I'd have no idea what you were talking about. So I feel like most of the world views us that way, but at the same time, Okay, Jimmy, what are the odds? What are the odds I could get just like a tiny bit, like maybe 20 minutes even, of seat time in that D8? Because I want to run a D8 so freaking bad. I've maxed out. My career has maxed out at a D7. And it wasn't even a good D7. It was a D7E, which was that crappy low-track electric model that was heavy as stuff and couldn't push and was... ugh. So, if you can hook that up, I absolutely make them see ya. Yeah, James, so that was the other reason I didn't try. I probably could have pushed the window cleaning company, the lawn care landscape morphed into window cleaning. I probably could have pushed it further, but the fact of the matter is, especially when you're struggling as a small business, like people who haven't owned a business, I mean, obviously I'm not talking to you because you own one, but for people who haven't owned a business, like, you don't think about the fact that when you punch out at the end of the day as an employee, you get to go home, you get to go live your life, you get to think about whatever's happening at home, you get to chill out in front of the computer or the TV. When you own the business, the second half of your day starts when you hit your door. And it's, going through and doing taxes and payroll and reconciling accounts, and it's calling for past due accounts, and there's just this whole other side, making sure that your taxes are, especially here in the States, keeping up on all of your different taxes that you have to pay out and when you're supposed to pay them. And it is a second job within itself. And that's ultimately where I was at, is I was just so stinking burned out that at the end of it, it was kind of like, no, if it's going to take this much to keep it going, I'm not this invested. I'm just tired. And so I ended up pulling the plug. So Brian, 966, that's a good size loader. That'll be a fun one to run. I think I've maxed out at I was in a 980 for a very short stint. I'm talking like less than a day. It was kind of one of these things where I filled in for a while. That's where I maxed out on loaders, but those are mama loaders. Those are fun to run. That's good to know you guys are kind of in the same boat that we are, AP. So, by the way, AP, I should have asked, are you actively in the construction industry, or do you just kind of follow along the construction industry, or kind of what's your story over there? And how did you find my channel? Because that's the other thing, is it's amazing that you somehow stumbled across my channel. It always blows me away. Here's Phil. What's up, Phil? Phil's another great one. How the heck did you guys find my channel? Because it's interesting. I'm curious overseas how much you guys get pitched American content on YouTube, because I can tell you, outside of a handful of the bigger channels like Danish construction and stuff, I don't get a whole lot of foreign content pitched my way. So I am kind of curious how you guys stumbled across my channel. And James, I totally believe that. I never kept a log of how many hours I worked, but I mean, even take all of the office stuff out of it. even just ending the day knowing that you have to go bid 2 or 3 jobs and you're going to be out for another 4 or 5 hours doing all of that work to prep for just sending out a bid that you might not even get the job for, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. Oh yeah, those 988s, James. So we had down when I was running in Texas, we had a 988 operator that was absolutely a master of the machine. You want to talk about a joy to watch, was watching that guy load trucks. There was one time we had the area we were digging out, and it was kind of dug out in lifts, and there was about a 3-foot drop from one lift to the next. And this guy goes up, he's got his bucket full in the air, and he's just backing up, and one of the trucks hadn't backed up quite where he needed to, so the loader was having to back a little further than he normally was, and he wasn't quite watching his mirror, and his rear tire just went over that lip. And man, the reaction time of that guy to drop the bucket the way that he did without slamming it to the ground and rocking the machine, like, he had total control over that machine. It was awesome to watch him run that thing. And then you watch the fuel and lube guy when he's greasing, and those things are absolutely massive. And that's when I really started to respect, like, it's one thing to control a smaller machine where you've got a lot less force in action, but to see how well that guy had the control over, that size of a machine, just awesome to watch. Oh, that's good, Brian. I'm glad that I'm okay picking up Chris's breadcrumbs over here. I'm all for that. So if YouTube is recommending me on Chris's videos, I feel like I've kind of made it to a degree. So what's Groundworks, AP? I'm curious about that. Is that a particular area of work? Yeah, Jimmy, I've been following Pushy 6 for, like, I don't know. This number always changes every time I say it, so I feel like it's not even real anymore. But I want to say like 7 or 8 years. It's been a long time I've been following Pushy 6. And then I finally got up the gall to actually comment on a couple of his videos. And believe it or not, he has commented back on mine. He has watched at least 1 or 2 of my live streams, and we actually have a back and forth dialogue now. So I'm hoping one of these days, when the bank account gets full enough I can do it, and COVID has passed so Canada will let me in their country as a filthy American, I'm hoping one day I can go do some filming with him. That would be a lot of fun. Oh, you were spoiled, James. Those automatic greasers. So you want to talk about an eye-opener when I started selling equipment. Those greasers, those automated greasers, I'm not even kidding. It's like 10 to 12 grand for an auto greaser kit. It's unreal how expensive those things are. They're nice. I love having them, but I had no idea how freaking expensive those auto greasers are. It's unreal. So Phil, I appreciate that. I'm actually, I talked to the guy that owns that machine. He's a farmer buddy he lives 3 miles, 4 miles down the road from me here. I'm actually going to be out hopefully in the next 3 weeks or so doing some filming. He's got a pretty good tile job that's coming up here. So here in Michigan, we're going through about a week and a half of like extreme bitter cold temperatures. We're not supposed to get out of like the low teens during the day. So he's not going to do it. He's not going to do any tiling during that. And then I go to Kentucky this next week. So I will be out that week, but I'm hoping the following week he's going to start that tile job, and I'm going to go out there, and we plan on doing a lot of filming. It should be pretty good too, because we'll have snow on the ground. I think that'll make for some cool shots, but it is definitely in the works. I've had a lot of requests for some more of that machine, so we will get you. We'll satisfy that itch you got. Oh, James, that's good. So Carson was my first collaboration. So Carson and I have I feel like, maybe it's totally one-sided, but I feel like we've got a pretty special relationship, because that was the first time that we kind of buddied up on a video together, and I spent 2 days with those guys. It was a lot of fun. I really like Carson and his family. Oh, I got you, AP. Okay. So yeah, it sounds like you do just kind of a little bit of everything, and I'm assuming So are you doing storm work? Are you really getting involved when you say drainage? Are you getting involved to that degree, or is it more just taking care of like French drains and the smaller stuff? Oh, Phil, you don't have to worry about me. I'm a Texas boy, so I get out in that snow as little as possible, and I spend as little time as possible in the snow when I have to get out into it. So no worries there whatsoever. Jimmy, I totally agree. Those auto greasers are amazing. They spoil the snot out of you when you have one. But like I said, it was sticker shock really for me when I started selling equipment, because you look at the thing and you go, okay, I can see that maybe being like $3,500, $4,000, something like that. When they told me the price tag to get that thing there and installed, it was like $12,000. I was like, good God, guys, I'll get out and use my auto greaser for that. Or not my auto greaser, but my electric grease gun. Which, by the way, for any of you guys, if you don't own an electric grease gun, you need to rethink what you're doing with your life. That was the best investment I ever made. I've got the, Milwaukee. So I had a Lincoln, because I was told Lincoln was just a great grease gun. Was totally disappointed with it. Was not a fan of the Lincoln. And then I went with the Milwaukee, and I have never looked back. It has been the most amazing tool that I have ever purchased. I love my electric grease gun. Okay, so you're getting into some pretty decent sized projects, AP. That's good. For a second there, it sounded like you were just kind of a jack of all trades on like almost doing block paving. But then again, you're over in England in the Europe area. So you guys, when you do block paving, you're probably in the States. We don't really do block paving. We call them pavers, but it's generally no bigger than a driveway. Most of the time it's sidewalks. So but over there in Europe, I know that you guys, like, it's to the point you guys have dedicated block paving machines, which is crazy watching those guys operate. But yeah, James, 100%. Get one now. And I have heard a lot of good things about the DeWalt. From the small bit that I've messed with the DeWalt, it seems to be manufactured pretty closely to the Milwaukee as far as the features go. One of my favorite features is the dial your pumps in, where you can tell it how many pumps you want it to give and just pull the trigger and let it go. And I'm pretty sure the DeWalt has that. In fact, I want to say the DeWalt might actually have a higher pumping PSI than the Milwaukee. So if you do have some clog zerks, that DeWalt's going to push it out a little bit better. What's up, Jay? How's it going, man? Thanks for coming out again. I appreciate that. Jimmy stands by Lincoln. Okay, all right. So when Frank was in here the other night, you sided with Frank on that one, and now you're siding with Lincoln on this one. Jimmy, whose back do you got, man? Oh, Awesome Earth Movers. So what is your name, Awesome Earth Movers? Because I have commented, I do watch your videos fairly religiously because you put out some really good content, but I don't think I've ever seen your name. Let me know your name, and you'll have to do it for 2 or 3 different live streams before I remember it, but I promise I will remember it. What's up, Nick? How are you, sir? So, Nick, forgive me. Weren't you the one that came up with the topic for this week, which was, what's the industry look like post-COVID? I think I remembered that. I said it in the beginning, but I wasn't sure if I was right or not. Yeah, Jimmy's independent. As long as it's against whatever Brian says. That's what I'm finding right now. So AP, we kind of do that. So it's not that you're fully dedicated one way or another. Okay, it's Chris. Hey Chris, thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate it. If you guys don't watch Awesome Earth Movers, head over to his channel. He's got a ton of really good like large scale machines that run. I really enjoy his content. But AP, going back to your comment, so over here you kind of specialize in things. Like we have guys that primarily do footers, or they primarily do this, but we don't really have like specialized gangs. And part of it's just because the American mentality is really just do whatever it takes to put food on the table so many times. So you'll find that a lot of guys, while they tend to lean a certain direction, they can pretty much do any of those things, assuming they have the equipment. So, okay, so Nick, I was totally wrong, in which case I take it all back. Don't give Nick any credit. It wasn't his idea. And if no one claims it, I will take full credit here. Hey, that's good to hear, Nick. So where are you at? Because we've got I think 2 or 3 Canadians. James is from Canada, and who else? Oh, Brian. Brian is from Canada. So, yeah, I'm curious, but that's kind of, it seems like that's happening here in the States too, that there are a lot of infrastructure projects. The problem is the permitting processes and the inspections and all that stuff. It's just taken forever because all the government offices are shut down. So, or not shut down, but they're running at a quarter capacity. So, oh, I think that's, so Nick, I think that's where Brian said he was from. Didn't he say he was from Montreal? Or maybe he was Manitoba. Manitoba, yeah. And see, American-centered American here. I couldn't tell you where either of those places are. Even though you guys are right upstairs. In fact, for fellow Americans in the channel, let's just go over here to the web browser and let's pull up a map of Canada. Because I don't know anything about, the world. Let's see here. Oh, so there's Manitoba. And where did you say you were at? Montreal. Oh, so that's in Quebec, which you guys, that's close. Sort of close. Okay, I see you. I see you way over here. Okay. So we've got guys from this area here. We got guys from this area over here, and we got guys from this area over here. And Pushy 6, if I remember right, he's either from Alberta or BC, I think. I can't remember where he's at. And there ends tonight's geography lesson, fellow Americans. Back to being ignorant. Oh, no kidding, Nick. So my wife's family is actually French Canadian, and her grandfather would sit around and speak French to his brothers, and we would sit there and just smile because no one knew what they were talking about. So okay. So Chris says I remember the first time, that one. Chris says Pushy 6 is in Calgary. So Turner, right? Did I read that right? Yeah, Turner. Thanks for joining, first of all, and thanks for the question. So, looking to get into the industry. So, an associate's degree. What you will find if you kind of go through my live streams and if you go through my YouTube videos on how to get into the industry, what you're going to find is my common thread is, if it's at all possible to get hired in at a small to mid-sized company and have them pay you to learn, I 100% would tell you go down that path, just because the experience you're going to get, the information, the education is going to be far more valuable than anything you can get from a trade school at this point in time. I want to put a very big caveat there, at this point in time. That's something that I'm hoping in the future I can kind of work with some trade schools to start to change that a little bit more. But the problem is, so many of these trade schools and colleges focus so much on book work and like what the difference between all the different pieces of equipment are and things like that. And that's great to know, but at the same time, like we were laughing about last week, like if you can't tell the difference between a backhoe and a skid steer by day 2 on the job, you should probably look elsewhere for a job, or at least another industry. So what I always recommend, guys, is see if you can get hired in at a small to mid-sized company, because first of all, they're going to be more than happy to train you. They expect to train. And then two, you're going to work yourself into a seat much quicker in one of those companies than if you hire in at a large company where you're going to probably get shoved into a laborer position until you really scrap and battle your way into a seat. So that's the way I would recommend. Now, that being said, if you've got a really good program in your area, it's got really good reviews, you know some people that have been through it, certainly don't let me totally scare you away from that. But at the same time, the other reason I push you towards working for a company is, why go pay $20,000 for an education when you can, I don't know how long the program is, but call it a 6-month to an 8-month education. You could probably make $20,000 to $30,000 in 6 to 8 months in the construction industry, depending on, there are a lot of variables there, but depending on where you're at, how many hours the company works. But there is the potential to at least make 18 grand over 6 to 8 months, instead of having to pay that money to get an education. So that would be my advice there. Brian, I want to come up that area so bad. I lived in Idaho for a couple years when I was younger, and like that whole just north of us is just spectacular, and I would love to get out that direction at one point in time. That's really, I keep saying it, that's one of my biggest goals for this channel when it comes to making money, is I want to use that money to travel, to not only see the world, but actually go work with guys around the world in different countries. So at some point in time, I got to get up that way. So Nick, if you need a suction mount, excuse me, I'm sorry guys, this is part of the problem with drinking while I'm doing this, is you get those little burps. If you need a suction mount, I'm going to tell you, don't even fool around with any other ones, because I've been down this road. There is a Gecko suction mount. In fact, we're going to go back to the web browser. I'm going to show you, brother. It is totally worth it. I want to say it's the Gecko suction mount. Come on, computer. We might not be showing you this because my internet's just not going to participate for me. I'll tell you what, we're going to go back to this camera, and I'm going to fool with this for a second until my internet decides to participate. In fact, I think I can go here. Yeah, okay. Now I'm just detracting from the stream. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. This was supposed to be a quick and easy deal, and apparently it's just not going to participate for me. But if you can find it, there is a Gecko suction mount on Amazon. Uh-oh. We still online, guys? Comment if we're still online, because my internet is... Ooh, it's acting up. Okay, there we go. We're good. Okay, sorry about that. So we had a little bit of a goof. It's a Gecko suction mount, and it is by far the best suction mount I've found, and I am so confident in this thing. Here we go. It's a little spendy. Okay, good deal. I'm glad you guys are still with me. So let's flip over to the web browser. I found it. So this thing's a little spendy. It's almost 30 bucks. But this thing, I suction this thing all over the machine. This was the mount that I confidently put over the tracks on that D5 when I was running that a couple weeks back. This is hands down the best suction mount you can get for a camera, and I am totally confident in it. So I would highly recommend you go for that guy there. William, where are you at from Texas? Thanks for coming in. First of all, I appreciate you showing up. Where are you at from Texas? I am an Austin boy myself. I've only been in Michigan for 8 or 9 years now. Born and raised in Texas, right outside Austin, a little town called Dripping Springs. You might know it, maybe, if you're from that central Texas area. Yeah, thanks for confirming, guys, because my computer totally flipped out there for a second and the stream looked like it was going down. That's going to be interesting when that happens the first time. You know, it's a matter of time. I'll have to play that one by ear. AP, so that's really good to know that I'm coming up decently high with the tips and tricks video. So that makes me feel good. I actually need to give credit to my wife because she's the one that optimizes all of them. So another thing, unless you make YouTube videos, you have no idea, is it's not like you make a YouTube video, slap it up there, and then YouTube magically starts putting it in front of people. It's a lot like getting in front of people on a search engine for Google. You have to optimize and use keywords, and there's all of this stuff, these analytical tools that you use. I have no idea how to do that. My wife has done all of the research and optimizes all of my content, so I have to hand it to my wife. That's probably how you found me. So I'll have to go thank her for that when we go upstairs later. So nice, William, clean. So believe it or not, talk about a small world. My grandfather was career military, was with the 1st Cav there out of Fort Hood, and so I grew up around the Killeen, Kempner area, and I grew up with my childhood driving around the base, watching Apaches fly around. We would be playing out in the front yard, and you could hear the boom, and it sounded like thunder. But it was the tanks on the range doing all their practicing. So yeah, small world. So that's pretty awesome. I'm glad you found the channel. That's awesome. That excites me. And by the way, if you've got anything that you have questions on, if you want tips or tricks on anything, don't hesitate to ask. And I've kind of, as I'm able to, I've been doing videos for guys, so I've already had probably, I think we're up to 4 or 5 videos now that I've done specifically because I got a request from someone. So by all means, ask away. AP, I'm glad, man. I'm really happy to have you on board. I really appreciate that support. Anytime someone says they subscribed, it really makes it. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. So, oh yeah, William, by the way. So, being from Killeen, you may know. Oh man, I just lost the name of the road. There's a back road that goes between Fort Hood and Austin. What is that? 95? 195? I can't remember. Through the town of Florence. I don't know if you've ever taken that way to get to Austin, but the back road that goes through Florence. That was my first big construction project I was ever on. That bypass, I was working for Ranger Excavating, and we did that bypass. Yeah, 195. Yep. So that stretch of 195 that bypasses Florence was Ranger Excavating. I was one of the trucks hauling material on that job. MK, thanks for joining us, first of all. Secondly, so when it comes to laser receivers, the first question I would ask is how precise do you need to be on the sites that you want to do? Because obviously those are kind of expensive upgrades, but at the same time, I will say, depending on what you pair with it, it can be a super, super effective device. So I guess my first question is, are we talking excavator or skid steer? Are we, I guess I can answer both in real time. So the first, if you're talking excavator for using it for digging on grade, digging a basement, fantastic. I mean, it's going to cost you, I want to say one of those systems is probably $5 or $6 grand. If I had to guess, I can't remember. And yeah, that's a little pricey, but when you think about the fact that it eliminates the need to have a grade checker working right there, you can either release that guy to go work someplace else, or if you're a one-man operation, you don't have to pay someone a salary or a wage to be standing there holding the grade rod for you. 100%. If you're talking about doing site work, like actual grade work, I would highly advise you to go invest about 30 grand into one of those laser grade box attachments, because they are amazingly slick. You can actually do two slopes. You can set them for a dual slope function. So if you're doing parking lot work or driveway work or whatever it is, those things are amazing tools. They will save you a lot of time. So I would say, depending on what your situation is, kind of expound on that a little bit more. But yeah, I would say they're absolutely worth the investment, and they're honestly a little underrated in the industry. I think a lot of guys are afraid of that price tag, and so they kind of shy away from them, because the other aspect is it's kind of hard to demo one unless your dealership has one readily available that you can demo. It's really hard to get an idea of how effective they are, which we're going to write that down because I might try to make a video on that. Laser 2D system for skid. And let me know if you're talking skid or excavator, because I can do one for both, but I would like to prioritize whichever one you're looking at, and maybe I can get something out. I don't know, maybe in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We'll see. That might be a little aggressive schedule. So yeah, I'm sorry, AP, and it would not hurt my feelings at all if you watch this the following day instead of showing up. I appreciate you showing up. I'm super thrilled that you're here, but I totally understand if you start watching these the next day on replay. So, and you can email me questions that you want to ask, so we could do it that way too. Yeah, so you're familiar, William. So all that whole stretch that bypasses Florence, you used to drive directly through Florence, and that was my first big project. I'm still posting pictures actually from that project. If you go look at my Instagram, all of the big we got a 988. There was a 385 hoe pulling rock, and then we had a D11 dozer pushing down. The pictures where I'm driving a quarry truck and burying it. That was all on that project. In fact, the picture that started this live stream on my countdown screen, I can't remember what the model of the truck is, but that big quarry truck that's buried to the axle, that was on these. Let's see here. When you're coming from Killeen, so coming from the north, it is the second overpass. It was the approach going up on that second overpass. That's where that machine got buried at. So you've driven my job site. Nick, you're right. Trimble does a really good job. Now, I will say this. Trimble gets a lot of publicity because they partnered with Cat, and Cat knows how to market. Don't rule out Leica. Leica puts out a really, really good 2D system. And I don't know what I never got into price points on GPS and 2D systems, so I can't tell you how they compare to Trimble. But don't discount Leica. Leica puts out a really, really good system. I personally have never been a huge fan of Topcon, and it's mostly like cheesy stuff. Like, I feel like their user interface is just like a little cartoonish. So I know that's a silly thing, but yeah, I really like Leica's system. So then I just said that, and then I read Jimmy's comment. Jimmy, tell me how I don't know if you have any experience with Trimble, but tell me how you like Topcon, because I will be 100% honest too. I haven't really I've fooled with it, but I haven't really run Topcon on a true job. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on a real job site, if you've had that experience. Yeah, so MK, I would say 100%. If you think about the amount of times you get out of that cab to check grade, and you're probably, I don't know, a minute and a half deep by the time you jump down in the hole, get your grade shots, figure out where it's at, and even then, you're taking a shot here and maybe 3 or 4 feet closer and maybe a foot away, and in between, you don't really know what's going on other than the skill of you looking down from the machine and seeing really how level that trench is. Excuse me, there's the whiskey burps again. I'm sorry. But yeah, you think about the amount of time that you're going to save during a day just being able to set your bucket down, get the beep, figure out exactly where you're at. And I'll say this too, if you're just using it to dig basements, you might not even need to go with the laser system. So you might look into a just pure 2D system. And this is, again, dependent upon your situation. Work with your sales rep in your area to kind of figure out if this will work. But there are 2D systems that use sensors on the machine to determine where the bucket is in relation to the tracks. And you can zero it out. And you don't even need a laser at that point. So you can set your 0 point, and then you can use that grade. And whenever you move the machine, right before you move, you create another 0 point for yourself. Track yourself back, and then you'll reach back out there to your 0 point. You'll zero yourself out again, and then you'll keep digging. There's no need for a laser. There's no setup. You just run with it. So the only thing you would really need to start a basement, and by the way, it works. I think it works in two slope directions as well. And so the only thing you would need to do getting started with a basement is you would need to take your laser out of your truck and your grade rod, and you would need to pound a stake somewhere right up against the corner of your basement where you're going to start. And you would take your tooth of your excavator and just set it there and zero yourself for your first 0 point. And then from then on out, you can just carry that 0 point with the machine as you're digging. So you might look into one of those too. I don't know how much money that would save you, especially if you've already got a laser, because you're already taking that cost out of the laser system for the excavator. But yeah, something else you might look into. Nick, I 100% agree. It is really, really satisfying to drive one of your old job sites and really, like, you know, pat yourself on the back that, yeah, I built this. Yeah, absolutely. And we moved a lot of material on that job too. We were blasting rock. In fact, as you crest the hill coming from the south, that hill where you kind of dip down in that valley, we blasted our way through that, and it was all of the material that we blasted and loaded out that went to make the embankments for the overpasses. So yeah, seeing it totally done it's really satisfying. It's a lot of fun. So Jimmy, that's a great point. The new machines are coming with the 2D system pre-installed. And I was watching, in fact, if you guys don't follow Taylor over there at, good God, how can I forget his channel? Ken White Construction. They were looking at one of the new Cat excavators, and they were fooling around with it at the dealership with the 2D system. And that was the first time I actually saw it in one of the machines, someone really operating. And they actually have the overdig protection, where you literally take the boomstick and just pull it back, and I'm sorry, you take your boom lever, I should say, so we don't get confused here, and just pull it back, and the machine automatically determines what it does with the stick to keep it on grade. Like, to me, that was really impressive to see. When I was selling equipment, the only complaint I had heard about those is that they used the relief valve or a valve similar to that to regulate that pressure, and so it wasn't like you could pull it back and dig at full speed. It was a very slow pull. I'm hoping with the new Cat excavators, this is what I'm really curious about, because Cat's always the ones to kind of go there first. I'm really hoping that Cat with this new generation has managed to speed that up, but I haven't had the chance to sit in one of the new machines yet. I'm still a pipsqueak channel enough that I've called up to Cat a couple times and haven't gotten a call back when I've explained to him what I've kind of wanted to do. So I'm hoping a little bit further down the line, when I can get some momentum, that door will open, that I can go test some of these features and kind of have a little more realistic input for you. But yeah, it is really intriguing that they're coming with those pre-installed now. Thanks, William. I really appreciate that. I do. And for as much information as you think I have in this industry, you'll find the more you get into this industry, I have this much information. And so I'm just, one of the things I always talk about is you never stop learning, and every day I'm learning something new. And half of my knowledge isn't even from like real job site experiences. It's from like watching other operators or watching YouTube videos or watching. So there's a lot of this stuff that I've picked up just from, it's when you're passionate about something, you are a sponge and you just soak it all in, and that's this industry is my passion. So I don't want to take too much credit. While I have been in the business for a long time and done a lot of different things, there is a lot of this knowledge I've picked up from other operators and from other guys in the industry. So, but I really appreciate the support, and I really appreciate the kind words. So AP, the short answer to that is not really. The fancy attachments over here, for whatever reason, are super slow to catch on. There's, believe it or not, over the last 3 or 4 years, I have seen more guys start to dabble in those than I have ever seen in this industry, which has always seemed silly to me because they're so much more efficient in so many different areas. Unless you're just doing crazy dirt slinging, where you're going to suffer from the lowered breakout force from having that bigger radius on your bucket, your bigger bucket radius. Outside of that scenario, I don't know why everyone wouldn't put a rototilt on their machine, because of how handy they are and how much time they can save you. But unfortunately, as we all know, construction is one of those industries where guys get very set in their ways. They like the way they've been doing it all these years. You can't convince me that's going to be better. I'm going to rah, 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 rah. So, like I said, over the last 3 or 4 years is where I've really started to see some more guys in the industry start taking an interest in the rototilts. I'm really hoping they get a little more popular over here. Hey William, I appreciate that. That's high praise right there, because this is the Super Bowl in America. I'm sorry this isn't exciting and we don't have any scantily clad cheerleaders for you, but I do appreciate it. Oh, nice to know, MK. So that's really exciting to me too. So I've had someone find me via Chris's channel over at Let's Dig. I've had someone find me through Pushy 6, and now you're saying Dirt Perfect. So if I'm being recommended with all of the bigger guys, that makes me feel like I'm doing something right here. That's exciting news. So Jimmy, you've now named 2 hose that have that system on them. Can you confirm, have they gotten better with the overdig protection, or do you guys actually use the overdig protection? Because I know you can turn that feature off, and from what I've been told, most operators, like good operators, turn that feature off because it actually slows them down on their finish passes. But like I said, I'm really curious on this new generation of excavators, if they've improved that somehow. It's very flattering, guys, that you think this is better than the Super Bowl. I've never been a big sports guy, so I've really never cared about the Super Bowl, but at the same time, it's not like I'm hitting anybody, and like I said, we don't have any cheerleaders in here, So James, I don't know anything about the Axis tilt rotator specifically. I do know the AMI makes some pretty solid attachments, so I certainly wouldn't veer away from that by any means. I sold 3 or 4 different AMI attachments, and they were pretty decent attachments. I keep saying the tilt rotator or rototilt or whatever I've been saying. I know that's a proprietary name, but it's kind of like it's turned into Band-Aid. That's just what you use when you're talking about it. Oh yeah, that's true, James. You're up there in hockey territory, and that's the other thing here in Michigan is we've got a lot of hockey up here. And so the Super Bowl, where I'm originally from down in Texas, and William can back me up on this, football is the only thing in life that matters other than going to church every Sunday. So it's been very different for me up here coming into a hockey world, because then I had to, I went to my first hockey game and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I just know these guys are skating like crazy, and I would be exhausted being out there. So it took me probably 3 or 4 games before I really started to grasp the concept. And now that I have a 4 and 6-year-old, I'm having to learn how to skate because they might be interested in hockey. So that's another aspect of living up here that's been fun. I've spent a lot of time on the ass, or on the ice on my ass over this last year, so it's been fun. Interesting. So no cylinders. That's interesting. You seem to like that plow. That plow is super versatile. I'm looking forward to you showing the controls on that, because I'm assuming you've got a little toggle switch that switches which valve your auxiliaries operate, but that's just a guess. Yeah, William. So I was in, like I said, I'm from the Austin area. We had high school. So one of our big rivalries was Westlake. They were one of the richest areas in Austin, and no kidding, they had a high school football stadium that was nicer than most college stadiums at the time, like full-on AstroTurf, huge 3-story press box for freaking high school games. Football is all it's about there in Texas. Interesting. So that, Jimmy, that makes me think that I need to get in one of those machines and do some playing. I think I'm going to try to get a little more aggressive with Kat and just show up one day and see if I can talk to the store manager or someone in person, so that they have to face me at that point. But I really do want to get in, even outside of testing the 2D, I really want to get in one of the new next-gen machines, and kind of get a feel for the differences. I know the EH controls, they are totally custom now. You can program any button to be any function. There is the 2D feature. There's the sky camera. What is it? Sky view or whatever. The 360 degree camera. There's a lot of options that I have no experience with, that I need to get in the seat. So maybe when I get back from Kentucky, I'll get a little more aggressive with them and make them face me. AP, so we don't see a ton of Hitachis over here. I would say they're, I don't know, maybe 10% of the market. They don't have a huge share that I'm aware of. Outside of the big, like, quarries and stuff, you don't see a lot of them. But that being said, you guys seem to use the snot out of them over there in Europe, and everyone I've heard of over here that has either owned one or operated one has really liked it. So, yeah, you guys really like those Hitachis. I need to go and play in one of those. See if I can get one on demo. Good, James. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, 14. So you guys got a lot more of that storm than we did. So we had that storm pass through, and we got about 3 inches off of it. But by the time it gets over to you guys, it goes over those Great Lakes again and picks up a lot more heft. So I think we've got another 2 or 3 inches coming in the next couple of days, but still not a super pounding snow. That's a perfect place to start, William. So yeah. So, and I just read your bottom comment about getting a CDL. That is the perfect way to start in this industry, in my opinion. That's the route that I kind of came into it. And the nice thing is you get all of the grunt work experience. So you know what's happening on the ground at any given time. You know all of the fundamentals. Then you start working your way into a seat. Most of the time, like you just, suggested, they're going to sponsor you to get your CDL so that you don't have to go to a truck driving school and pay out of pocket to get it. Like, there's so many advantages to doing it that way. So I would say you are absolutely where you need to be. That's a great start to the industry. So James, that's a good question. It just depends. I wish I could say yes in a blanket statement, but it really just depends, because you've got a lot of American machines that really aren't high maintenance when you're talking about excavators or some low impact machines. Those are just across the board. Those tend to be lower maintenance machines. So I wish I could answer that one definitively yes or no. But I can't, unfortunately. I will say that my experience with Japanese machines has always been very positive, and we've had very few breakdowns. One of the primary machines that I've dealt with that comes from, no, I take that back. Yeah, it is a Japanese company, Kobelco. Kobelco is Japanese, and a lot of their machines come from Japan. And as any of you who have watched my live streams multiple times know, I swear by Kobelco excavators. They're one of the best machines in the market. So yes, my experience has been positive, but the second I make some sort of blanket statement, I'm gonna, end up eating my words down the road. So, Whew, James, see, that's dirty talk right there. That's like, that makes me upset just thinking about, like, if I had to get out of bed to go plow that much snow. And I'm sure you've been up for like 36 hours straight during this run of plowing, and no, I don't want any part of it. I don't. So, who was it? Somebody last week told me they were going to send me some plow footage to post up here to satisfy the people that are wanting plow footage, and then they totally left me hanging. Was that Nick? I can't remember who that was. I keep trying to blame Nick for everything on this one, but I don't actually remember who it was, so we'll just keep going with Nick. Yeah, I bet, James. That's... Ugh. See, AP, you guys run a lot more JCB over there, and please don't take too much offense to this, but JCB has a nickname over here in the States of being Junk Company of Britain, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, their equipment over here in the States just does not hold up. They're popular. I will say one of their most popular machines is that Telefork, or the telescoping skid that they came out with. It's got the mono boom off to the right hand side of the machine, and it is super popular with farmers because they can load their bales and they can see everything, and it's a perfect machine for them, but it's obviously light duty work. The second you step those things up into some real heavy duty job applications over here in the States, they tend to start falling apart pretty quick. So unfortunately, they got a bit of a reputation here. So Turner, where are you at in Nebraska? My folks are out in Lincoln, and in fact, I've got multiple shots on my channel. I've got a couple videos. The big highway bypass that's going in around Lincoln right now, I've got a couple videos posted from that, and then I've got a couple of, I can't remember the name of the company that was doing the paving, but some paving that was going on the Van Dorn area there in Lincoln. So let me know where at in Nebraska. Small world. Yeah, James, that was one of the things that turned me on to Dirt Boss in the very beginning, was I saw him strutting that Kobelco out there, and I was like, that's my man. That's my man right there. Love a Kobelco owner. Man, they're such good machines. Jimmy, that's a good point. There are a lot of and it's not even just CAT. I wish you could say it's just CAT, but there are a lot of machines, believe it or not, that are coming from Japan these days. In fact, when I was working for a Case dealership, it actually shocked me the amount of everyone's equipment that is imported. Very, very few machines are actually manufactured here in the States. And, again, this sounds like it's just an evening of me crapping all over Americans. I love my country. I love us. But we do also have a tendency, especially in this industry, to just kind of crap all over anything that isn't made here in the U.S. And the reality is, in the global economy, almost everything we come into contact with is made overseas, and they actually do a really good job. There's a handful of from what I hear, the Sany line, which is coming out of China, I believe. Everything I've read about and everything I've heard about from those machines is they're super cheap junk. But outside of that, even your Korean machines, they hold up. I mean, Yanmar, you guys correct me, isn't Yanmar out of Korea? And that's pretty much every Mini that you've run has a Yanmar engine in it, and they have the Yanmar boom design. So, it's hard to say one spot has the equipment that's going to be great. And on that note too, anytime you buy a new machine, it doesn't matter whose piece of equipment it is. If it came new from the factory, you're going to have issues. That's just part of getting a machine new from the factory. And so again, it doesn't matter where it came from, whether it's the States or Korea or Japan or where. Everybody's machines are going to have issues coming from the factory because there's just so many freaking moving parts and clipped in, sensors and everything, that it's really hard for them to do 100% quality checks coming out of the factory at the rate that they need to turn those machines. So that's awesome, Nick. That's hilarious. Um, your phone mount didn't work on the 924 because there's no metal post. I don't understand. So where were you wanting to mount it on the 924? The reason I like that suction cup I was showing you earlier is because it will mount to glass as long as there's not crazy rust gouges or something in the metal. Even if there's like from powder coating, that a lot of those arms are kind of dimpled a little bit. So the key is get you a little dollop of spit right in that suction cup, rub it around so that it hits every edge of the suction cup, and then squeeze that sucker on there. And like I said, I put that thing in some locations where I had to be 100% confident or I was going to lose that $300 camera. And I am more than willing to do that with that suction cup mount. So I would highly advise you try that one out. So AP, I will agree with you there. There is a degree, and I'm finding it more and more the more I talk to guys overseas and the more I kind of watch YouTube stuff and work videos of what you guys actually do. You guys are much kinder on equipment than we are here in the States. We're pretty brutal on our machines. We put them through some very rough conditions. Just kind of an overall work mentality. You guys over there tend to have like career serious operators, and here in the States you have those, but then you also have this rotation of guys who are just in it because it's a way to pay the bills, and they don't give two craps about the machine, and they don't give two craps about taking care of anything, and so they just slam the piss out of the machine. And so we tend to have more of that over here, and so I do think that's one of the reasons. I will agree with you that is one of the reasons. But that being said, if JCB is going to want to continue to sell over here and do well over here, they have to take that into consideration, and they've got to build for that sort of the American destructiveness. So, but I will agree, you guys are much kinder on your machines overseas there. So South Central Nebraska. So the fact that you said South Central Nebraska instead of Lincoln or Omaha tells me that you're most likely somewhere close to the middle of nowhere, because I can't think of any other major cities out there in Nebraska other than Lincoln and Omaha, and that's pretty much what everyone refers to when you say where in Nebraska are you. So James, good point. Volvo comes out of Korea, and I think I talked about this on the last live stream. I've heard some real hit and miss stuff about their excavators. Most of the negative stuff coming from mechanics, not from operators. But their loaders, I've just heard really, really great positive things. So, and that comes out of Korea. So, good point. Nick, I would agree with you with one caveat. They make the greatest machine if you don't like any bells and whistles. So there are a couple other machines on the market that I feel like have a nicer cab and a nicer overall feel that will do the same level of work that Yanmar does. They're going to be more expensive though because they have the bells and whistles. If you just want a pound for pound great mini excavator that digs like a workhorse, I will 100% agree. Yanmar puts out a phenomenal machine. I'm actually trying to convince a buddy of mine to buy a Yanmar. He's in the market for a mini, and I'm really steering him hard towards a Yanmar. Hey, thanks for coming in, William. I hope I caught you before you actually took off, but thanks for stopping in. We're skipping next Sunday, but the following Sunday, we do these every Sunday night. Hope to see you again, man. I appreciate it. So Nick, I'm one of those guys that I'll take the beefy suction cup inside, and because it's got the threaded, so it doesn't have a mount on it. It's got I can't remember what the standard thread size is. I think it's 1/4 inch thread, and it's pretty much every camera mount, whether it's this DSLR like the one I'm filming on right now, or you can get phone mounts, or you can get GoPro mounts. Like any camera, like dedicated camera mount is going to mount to a 1/4-inch thread. And so I'll take that suction cup in my machine, and I've got a couple adapters for phones that I throw on top of it. And you can buy those super cheap. A phone adapter is like $2 to $5 probably. Screw that sucker on it. Your phone's not going to go anywhere, and you could roll the machine. I mean, it's just a solid mount. Yeah, so James, that's the other critical part is more important. So obviously it's important that the machine doesn't break down. So having an unreliable machine is not profitable. But the next thing is, you're exactly right, is how quick can you get a part for it? So, I was watching Frank dig in Oklahoma. He was replacing one of the parts on his not JCB. Now you guys have me. I got JCB on the brain now. New Holland, which is, if you're unfamiliar, New Holland is a case backhoe made in the same. I want to say they're made in the same factory. But all that being said, he had to replace a valve on the pilot controls, and it took him like 2.5, 3 weeks to get that part in. So. And that's a case machine. That's like an American machine. Everyone talks about the case backhoe, the staple of the American, backhoe. And so it doesn't really matter if it's a stateside machine if it still takes you 2 weeks to get the part in. Uptime is king. That's all I will say is uptime is king. It doesn't matter what machine. It doesn't matter what paint color. If it's down, it's costing you money, and you're going to go out of, what am I trying to say here? You're going to go out of business because you don't have a functional machine. So more than anything is parts availability for the machine, and what does the service department look like for that machine. That's interesting, James, that you had problems with the Takeuchi. For the most part down here, from what I understand, I haven't owned one or known someone recently that has owned one, but parts was never one of the problems that was discussed. The big problem I hear about the new Takeuchis is by far and away the emission system. They're having some real problems with their emission systems now that they had to finally flip over to tier 4 final that we're on. They're really struggling with their emission systems on those machines. I will say, yeah, AP, you guys have a big variety of equipment over there. Whew, Turner, 4 hours to Omaha. So yeah, you were out in the sticks. Dang. Is there anything around you out there? I'm curious looking at a map. I've always been curious when I go to my parents' place. You start looking at a map and it's like, what do people do out there? Because it's not like there's a major metropolitan area to support any large businesses. So I'm curious. I would think it's pretty much all farmers and then kind of small ag towns. So Nick, stick around, brother. I'll turn you into a professional YouTuber. I'll get you set up with all the greatest gear. I'll show you all the nice mounts and all the cool cameras you need to own. But no, just starting out. If you're one, I would recommend, if you're doing a phone mount, I would keep that for sure inside the cab, just because as stable as the suction cup's going to be, that phone can wiggle out of that mount, the actual phone clip. But that being said, you can get a knockoff GoPro. I can't remember the model. There's one that I've been looking at, and it only runs like $79, $80. And the only reason I haven't gone out and grabbed one yet is because you can't hook up an external microphone for better audio. But at the end of the day, what I'm wanting to use it for is my burner camera. So if I get into some dicey situations like the one on that Braun video where I had the camera run underneath the machine and go through over the plow and turn over, that was dicey enough that I probably would have used that $80 camera instead of my $300 camera. But yeah, for $80 you can go get one of those knockoff GoPros, and it does, from a picture quality standpoint, you won't be able to tell the difference between it and a GoPro. They've come that far with the knockoffs, and that way you could get a little more risky with your shots and not have to worry about it. And throw it up on YouTube for fun. That's how I started this whole thing. And next thing you knew, over the course of like 4 years, I had 1,200 subscribers out of nowhere. And it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's what it was, James. His pilot relief valve. Yep. Ooh, that's rough. 3 days to a week for parts. That ain't gonna get you there. Ulysses, thanks for joining us. Sorry it's taken me a second to kind of get down to your question. Up to about an 8-ton or so, brand preference. So what we were just talking about actually is if you aren't in it for bells and whistles, if you don't mind having a little bit of a stripped down machine, Yanmar 100%. Yanmar puts out a really quality machine. Everyone in the industry, I believe, don't quote me 100%. I will confidently say the vast majority of people run Yanmar engines in their minis just because they are the ones who have gotten the engine technology down to where it's efficient. You don't have to have any after treatment or anything like that. I was told that Yanmar actually owns the patent on the boom design on those minis in that class. So believe it or not, you're actually running a Yanmar boom on all of those machines. So all that to say, you are kind of running a Yanmar depending on, almost any machine that you get. But if you don't mind having a stripped down cab, 100% Yanmar. If you would like having a little nicer cab, a little more bells and whistles, I actually think the Case machines are really well designed. They've done a really good job with the cab, giving you room to where it doesn't feel super claustrophobic like you're in a tiny machine. The valve placement for like switching patterns, for switching over from two-way to one-way auxiliary hydraulics, stuff like that has been thought out well. So that's kind of the way I would steer you if you do want the little nicer machine. But again, that's totally my preference. I know that there's going to be 100 different opinions in here. So it's really, at the end of the day, like we were just talking about too, who's going to be able to service the machine and who's going to be able to get you parts. Because outside of that, it doesn't matter. That's right, James. Lots of duct tape. And and then you won't have to worry about it. You will have to worry about somehow getting your phone off of the machine. But as far as it getting rolled over, you'll be fine. AP, I do have an Instagram account. If you watch pointing wrong way, right here on these little things that are popping up, you will see it pop up. I think it's, and this is where it's sad that I don't even know my own stuff. I think it's diesel in the letter N iron. Let's see here, which one is it? Yeah, at dieseliniron.com. I'm just gonna put it in the comments here so that you guys aren't trying to guess. Let's see here, at dieseliniron. And there is no .com because it is Instagram. Sorry, maybe it's the whiskey. I don't know. Let's see here. Now, Nick, that's just offensive. I'm not a Case sellout. Case puts out some nice equipment, my friend. They just have a really poor marketing department. So if you guys don't know, I ran Case and Komatsu primarily in the industry when I was an operator. And then about 2.5 years ago, I flipped over to selling equipment, and I hired in at a Case dealership. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. This was truly my thought. This is not me fluffing up Case or anything. My thought was, well, I guess it's a stepping stone to selling for Cat. It was Case equipment. No one likes Case equipment, or at least that's the reputation in the industry. What ended up happening, though, is over the next 2 years, I really got to intimately know the Case product line. And Case puts out some really quality equipment. They just have a poor reputation in the industry because of things that have happened in the past. And then they've done a really, really piss poor job of marketing to make up for that reputation. So, all that to say, you can call me a Case sellout. I do like the Case puts out some good equipment. They got some turds out there for sure. There are some machines I would 100% steer you away from, but I do like Case equipment a lot. Oh, there you go, Turner. Frito-Lay Distribution Center out in the middle of bum F nowhere, Nebraska. Who knew? That's interesting. Hey, Big John. So, first of all, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Thanks for your service, too. Thanks for committing part of your life to go out there and go into the military. And then secondly, or thirdly, whatever we're on here, I don't know much about the Troops to Hard Hats program, so I don't know exactly how that process works. Are you willing to relocate, and are you willing to move? I don't know where you're at right now. I will say the industry pretty much everywhere except for California for whatever reason. And Jimmy, if you're still in here, you can chime in. I've heard a lot of guys in California that are talking about like they're having a hard time getting work. Whereas that's really strange to me because whereas everywhere else in the States, pretty much everyone's dying for operators. So I can speak 100% from being from Michigan. If you head up to Michigan, you will get hired and you will make good money. Michigan is dying for operators, especially if you can prove that you've got the skills to where you can go and just get your journeyman's card without having to go through the apprenticeship program. I want to say the benefits, like all in with your benefits package and everything, your hourly rate was like 42 or 43 an hour. So you're making good money. You can work really good hours in the summertime, and then it's up to you on whether you want to carry over into the winter doing something or if you want to take the layoff. So, it really depends on what you want to do. If you go out to like the Colorado area or a little further south, you can work a little more year round. I know there are still some prevailing wage jobs there. I don't know much about the union and prevailing wage jobs down in the South just because when I was working down there, I was at it's mostly all right to work states down there, and I was just making an hourly rate. So it just depends. It just depends on where you are. So sorry I couldn't be more clear on that one. Okay, so Dom that just commented in the comments, is this Dom from here, Mod Interactive Dom? Because I just talked about you earlier. If that was you. Oh, hey, look at that! It's Alan. Alan, have you been here the whole time, or did you just show up? Hey, good to have you back, man. Yeah, and Alan, so on that note, to piggyback off that, Alan hit 1,000 subscribers. What, like it's been 2 or 3 months now? You've been over 1,000, so he's able to monetize now. So once you hit 1,000 subscribers, you can start making money. It's peanuts, but you can start making money, and it makes you feel good about yourself. So just out of curiosity, Nick, why run from the 621G? I love case loaders. I think they're too light in the ass. That's the only reason I was not a fan of their loaders. If they would fix the counterweight problem, that would be my favorite machine on the market. But the problem is they haven't fixed the counterweight problem, and I've been on them for 2.5 years now. So, I should have more of a voice, right? Let's see here. So that's interesting, AP. So you guys are hurting for operators here over there too. That's kind of always been a curiosity of mine. I know in the States we're dying for it because college was pushed over skilled trades for so long. But I didn't know if that was a kind of overall global thing. So that's interesting that you guys are hurting too. So Big John, if you're willing to travel, I don't know if you've got a family or what your situation is. If you're willing to travel, dude, I would, there's 2 routes so I'm going to talk me personally, because if I didn't have my family and I was a young guy that was willing to travel and I could travel without having, anchors, and that's a really rough way to describe my family, isn't it? I'm sorry. I love my family. But all that to say, pipeline work or going into marine work of some sort. Those are 2 areas that you can literally travel and see the country, or if you get into marine work, you can actually go see the world. Both of them pay extremely well. and there's work all over the place for both of those industries. So I would really, if you are willing to travel and you want to do that, most of the guys, if you go into the pipeline work, will sell the house. They'll live out of they'll go spend $100,000 on a camper and a nice truck to pull it. And then that's what they live in. And they live out of a campground or like one of those little, my brain just shut off on me. Anyway, those little mobile home sites, almost. It's like long-term camping. It's not like out in the woods camping, although there are guys that do that. But they'll live out of their camper, and that's their home. And they get to see just spectacular parts of the country. So that's actually something I would really highly consider. If you're willing to be mobile, that's a great line of work to get into. Nick, Americans love to talk about Americans, and everyone else can just piss off. Like that's our general attitude to the world. You should know that. You live it close enough in where are you? You're up there in Canada, right around the corner there. So you're in close enough proximity. You should be familiar with the way we think. See, Jimmy, you say that. I don't understand the guys. I've come into contact with like 3 or 4 guys now in California that have said they've had a really hard time getting hired out there in California. So that kind of tells me that maybe they were just the bottom of the barrel guys, possibly, because I don't see it being that difficult to get hired out there. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get into the union? Because I think a couple of them were having a really hard time getting into the union. All right, guys. So I'm going to pitch my buddy here. So Clear Strategy, the guy that you see commenting, that is Dominic that I talked about earlier in the live stream. He's the guy that did my website. And if you haven't seen my website, go to dieselandironproductions.com and go check out that website. He does super, super professional work. And I will tell you from a web design standpoint, he is way affordable. So for you guys that are business owners that are currently watching right now or watching in the future, if you have any questions or you are thinking about getting a website done, definitely reach out to Dom. In fact, Dom, I would say throw your email out into the comments so that people can have it. Absolutely reach out to Dom. He does really great work. He's really, really flexible. I gave him almost nothing for a framework, and he came out with a website. And then I went, no, that's not really what I wanted. And he turned around and tweaked the whole thing, and then you see what he came up with. So I cannot recommend him enough if you're looking into getting a website. So, but thanks, by the way, Dom, for showing up, man. I appreciate you showing up for this. Big John, absolutely no problem. That's what this whole channel is about, is me being a resource for you guys to kind of at least give you the right direction to get pointed in. Oh, see, Nick, you're one of those like diehard Volvo guys that's gonna stick his. Every one of you guys that run the Volvos, and your nose is so high up in the air about running Volvos. I can't. So now I know you're just jaded. That's the problem there. Yeah, Jimmy, that was my experience too. Guys with prior, let's get that out of frame. That looks a little weird, doesn't it? Guys with previous military experience generally were super. In fact, I'll just flat out say it. The best dozer operator I have ever worked alongside. I worked with him for 3 years. Was ex-military. He came out of the Army and he used to dig tank holes. Excuse me. And so he could only really run dozer. I mean, he was saying okay in an excavator might even be a stretch. He was okay. But man, he would fly on a dozer. It was unbelievable watching that guy work. And it's been that way generally with most military vets that I've come into contact with, that they're really hard workers. They have no problems with the hours. So my experience has been both from personal experience and anecdotal from other guys that you should not have a problem getting hired in the industry as a vet. Yeah, that's Turner. That's unfortunately that's a big reason I started this channel. In fact, that's why I made this shirt. This is one of my shirt designs. College, an alternative for those who can't hack it in the skilled trades. That was really one of my big things I wanted to do with this channel, is kind of take back some of the pride of the trades, because for so long the trades have been looked at as the alternative to college. Like, if you weren't smart enough to go to college, you went into the skilled trades. And the reality is, we're all proud to be here. In fact, I can't think of a single person over here in the comments that I have talked to, more than one time, that is not proud of what they do and is not happy with their decision. Like, everyone's here because we want to be here and because we're happy to be here. And so unfortunately, that's just something that's going to have to change over time. We're slowly working on it, but that's one of my biggest goals for this channel, is to really kind of follow in Mike Rowe's footsteps almost. He's a big role model of mine, because he really brought the spotlight back to the trades to say these are people doing this job because they choose to, not because they have to. So AP, I will agree with you there. A lot of it is because they are interested in business, but I think a lot of that too is because there's this big, you could call it a lie, that you're going to earn so much more money if you go to college and get your degree. So let me back that up. It wasn't a lie, and I will talk from my personal experience. My parents' generation, that was not a lie. That was 100% the truth. If you went to college, you would come out of college and immediately go to work and earn probably 60 to 100% more than your non-college educated counterpart. And that was that way for quite a while. And then right about the time my generation came out of college, which was around, let's see here, that was 2008. Yeah, because it was right at the turn, the great downturn of 2008, when we had that big economic collapse and the recession. That totally got turned on its head. And now you went and spent, I came out of college with $60,000 in student debt, just myself, not including my wife's. And every position I wanted to apply for that used my college degree was willing to offer me, 50 grand a year, but I had to have like 5 years of experience in whatever management position it was, or whatever. Like, it wasn't realistic. But the problem is during the recession, you had all of this middle management that lost their jobs. And so then what happened on the backside of that is everyone went, oh, there's all this experienced mid-level management. We'll just reset the salary clock here. So now instead of making 80 to 90 grand a year in your middle management position, we're only going to pay you 50 grand. We want you to have all that experience. Well, what that did to all of us that just came out of college is, instead of being able to go out and make 50 to 60 grand a year, nope, I was 60 grand in debt, and I could qualify for jobs making 45 grand a year maybe. And so unfortunately, now it has turned into this lie that is, if you go to college, you're going to earn more. And that's really not the truth. In fact, even today, if I were to go back into construction, if I were to go full-time back into operating and work year-round, not take the layoff in the winter, but actually go into maybe doing some crane work in the shops or something along those lines, I would out-earn, I would say probably, if I had to guess just off the cuff, 70 to 80% of my college-educated counterparts. And that's not an exaggeration. That's facts. So it's just going to take time for that shift to happen, unfortunately. So Nick, it's interesting. Volvo loaders, I heard great things about. Volvo excavators, operators love them. A lot of mechanics can't stand them. And then you've mentioned the Hitachi. We keep coming back to this Hitachi. I've got to spend some seat time in the Hitachi, I'm thinking, because I just haven't really spent any seat time in one. James, thanks for coming out, man. Good luck. Thank you. I appreciate that. We will get some good footage down in Kentucky. Try not to get buried in all that snow you guys are getting, man. Yeah, Alan, exactly. You come out of college and you're, especially with what you're doing, man, teachers, you want to talk about an undervalued, underpaid profession, but you require not only a 4-year degree, but then you require, I'm assuming my wife went to Michigan State for teaching. Then there's like the requirement to do your actual internship. So like you're beyond the actual 4-year degree to go get paid what, 30-ish, 40-ish grand a year. I mean, it's outrageous what they're doing. So, but that's why, Alan, I keep telling you what's going to happen here in the next 6 months to a year is you're going to come to the dark side. You're going to sit in the seat 1 or 2 days. When you come out and see me, we'll get you in a machine, and then you're just going to be hooked. And next thing you know, you're going to start the generational thing, because then your son's going to get involved because he's going to see dad having fun. So, and you'll start earning some real money, some real cash. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, man. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Jimmy. You guys enjoy dinner out there, because we ate 4 hours ago. Yeah, you guys are 4 hours behind us, so enjoy dinner. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it, man. AP, so it depends on what part of the country you're in. So if you're in the southern states, they absolutely do work year round. Up here in the northern states, we get a lot of, you start getting into the heavy frost when you get into freezing temperatures. And then you get into, obviously, we get a lot of snow up here in the true north. And so it's really, there are definitely jobs that work year round. You can go to companies that will do year round work, but it's a lot more sporadic. It's not, it's not a 6-day-a-week thing, because the snowstorms will come in and impact jobs. Or when you get really bad frost, it really impacts production. So it just depends. But yeah, down south, they definitely work year round. Oh, Big John, yeah, I 100% believe that. So I was a year and a half in and switched my major, and it was early enough in that I was still doing all my prereqs, so it didn't hurt me that bad. There were only like 2 classes that didn't really translate over. But yeah, if you switch when you've started your actual, like, I can't even remember how they classify them, but your like directional focused classes, you can easily, so a semester costs what, 15 grand, 10 grand? You just throw 10 grand, 15 grand right out the window the second you change your major. And that's another big problem I have about the way college is presented in this country, is you're talking to kids that are generally 16, 17 years old when you're starting to prep them on that you're going to go to college thing. And it's like, okay, what do you want to do with your life at 16 years old? No one knows what they want to do with their life at 16 years old. You want to party, you want to go out and drink, you want to go have fun and be independent. Like, that's your goal. Yet you're wanting someone to commit to what they want to do for the rest of their life because you're about to go $60,000 to $100,000 in debt to get there. You're 18. I mean, come on. At the max, you're 18. So that's the other thing, is I really think college should be one of those things where go out and live in the world for 4 or 5 years and then figure out what you want to do, then go to college. Not right out of high school, unless you just know and you are positive that's what you want to do. There's no point in going into college right after high school. Oh, Nick, you just had to put that in there, didn't you? Just apart from Case. So, Cabelco for excavators, hands down. For dozers, I would say if it's not a Case, because Case does put out a good dozer. Cat, probably. The T series is a really, really good series, especially like those D6Ts. They just push like nobody's business. I was a fan of the Komatsu dozers. I really, really love when they move that radiator package, the cooling package, to the rear of the machine. The visibility is unreal. So I was a fan of them. For loaders, I was a fan of the Case 938 that I ran, with the exception that it was a hydrostatic transmission. That's why I lean towards the Case so hard. Is the Case is the cat machine. I mean, really, from the interior of the cab to the way the hydraulics operate to everything is like the cat machine, except it's got a real transmission in it. So that's why I lean that way. Outside of that hydrostat, though, I loved that 938. It had tons of power. It had lots of ass. You could pick up so much with that machine. So I would say probably cat there. Skid steers, pre-emissions, Takeuchi puts out a mean skid, and they still do. That's the frustrating thing about Takeuchi right now, is they put out such a good skid. It's just they're having so many issues with the emission stuff. It negates all of the awesomeness that comes in their skid package. So I don't really, from a skid standpoint, I don't really have a favorite. Case has really struggled with their Alpha series. The new B series supposedly addresses a lot of that, but it's still, they just came out with it this last year, so it's pretty untested in real world conditions to see if those things got remedied. So it just depends. I'm trying to think what other machine there could possibly be that I could name there. That kind of hits the big ones. So what's up, Angelo or Michelle? So Angelo, excuse me. So you guys have heard me talk about my buddy that prefers his backhoe to a mini for doing footers. That's Angelo right there in the comments. Reality is a comedy. Really good friend of mine, and I give him crap all the time because he's one of those guys that prefers his backhoe to a mini. And so yeah. And here he is to defend himself. Yeah, Alan, so if you guys don't follow or haven't seen any of his stuff, go check out Angelo. His is sort of loosely construction related, just because he's talking about his experience in the construction industry, but he just kind of does commentary, and it's pretty hysterical. If you have a chance, go check him out. I will say the Super Bowl is definitely slowing us down tonight. Let's see here. Yeah, we're doing okay though. So, Angelo, you got to get a frost stripper, and then you'll have no problem with that frost. It's just, you got to get the right tools for it, man. Got to get the right tools. But I can fit my little mini through a gate in a backyard versus your big old monster backhoe. You're just going to have to take out half the fence and deal with it. I tell you what, though, if we don't pick up here pretty quick, we may end this thing a little early tonight. And, I'm okay with that, just because the last couple ones we've gone till, last week it was like past 10 o'clock that we finally shut this thing down. So I'd be okay with a little early evening here. Oh, so I will say this, Angelo. There's a guy. His YouTube channel is called Diggin' OK. It stands for Diggin' Oklahoma. His name is Frank. He was in here, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and he is 100%. He's got a New Holland backhoe, so pretty much the same backhoe as what you've got, just a different paint color. And he was in here defending your honor. He is a diehard backhoe guy. So you've got friends out there, Angelo. You're not the only one, which is why I was ragging on you, because Frank was in here and I was giving him crap that you also love your backhoe. Big John, yes, we do. With the exception of next Sunday, because I'm going to be out of town. It's every Sunday, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And these have been averaging about 2 hours long before I finally shut them down. So if you got more questions, by all means, come on back and ask away. If you're not able to make the live, down in my little my little things over here that are popping up. You'll see my email. You're more than welcome to email me questions. If you want to see a video on a particular subject, shoot me something and I'll try to make a video on the topic. Thanks, AP. I appreciate that. Really, there's so many things I want to do with the channel and things that are kind of intermingling with each other. And one of them you kind of hit right on the head is part of this is just I want to generate excitement for the industry and kind of bring people together that are passionate about it. That's actually what excites me about these live streams. Like, yeah, it was cool to start a live stream and talk, but the real thing that excites me about the live stream is what's happening here in the comments right now. It's really the last 2 live streams have gotten, especially where guys are getting to know each other. We're starting to create a community. That's what really excites me. So I really appreciate those sort of compliments. That really means a lot. Brian, yes, Andrew's channel. Andrew's channel is an anomaly to me because the first one I saw, like the first video I saw was him doing something solo by himself, trying to get his dump truck unstuck by throwing it into gear and then pushing it with a machine but catching it before it ran away from him in the woods. And I'm like, what the F am I watching right now? But it was like, he's got like 700,000 or 1.7 million. I can't remember what the views were. It was like through the roof and I'm like, what the crap? But the more I watch that guy, like he's a really like practical, solid operator. He's certainly not focused on the safety aspect. He's out there to just get the job done however it needs to get done. And he's a really, yeah, he's got a great channel. All right, thanks, Alan. Thanks for swinging in. Yeah, so people are kind of checking out already, so that's good. I'm okay having an early evening. Oh yeah, that's right. Good point, Dom. So actually, I always forget about that. On my website, you can also go, if you've got a question or a comment, there is a page on my website where you can submit a form with any sort of a question or anything like that. So that is yet another avenue that you can contact me. Thank you, Dom. Thank you for further educating me on my website that I still haven't remembered everything for. All right, Angelo, I will give you in your certain situations that your backhoe will outperform my Mini. I will give you that. But in all other situations, I'll outdig the shit out of it. One of these days, we're going to come on site. I'm going to have you get your backhoe on one side, and I'm going to get on the other side in my Mini. We have to make it a reasonable size, but I'll get on my Mini, and I'm going to watch as I dig circles around you. I will put you on an island that you will only be able to get off of by using your outriggers and your bucket in a fancy backhoe manner that I am unable to get off of that island. That's what's going to happen. You just wait. You watch. Yeah, so Big John, by all means, don't feel like because I've made a video already, I get asked repeat questions all the time. So if you got questions, don't feel like you got to go watch all the content. Now, I appreciate it from the view standpoint that you watch all the content, but ask away, brother. Don't feel like you got to go watch it and you're going to irritate anyone by asking questions that have already been answered. It's not a big deal. I generally will answer at least 5 or 6 questions for the 5th time around every live stream. It's totally understandable. So now that being said, if I got to stay small to keep you, that worries me a little bit because my plan is to grow this sucker, brother. Yeah, see, Nick, I'm with you. At the end of the day, I think the reason I hate backhoes so much, there's 2 reasons. I'll give you the 2 reasons I hate backhoes. The first is because as much time as I've spent in them, I've never really mastered the machine. So there's three reasons. I take that back. There's three reasons. So that's the first reason. I've never truly mastered the machine. The second reason is the visibility. When you're running a hoe, you have the boom beside you so you can see straight down the side of the boom. You got really good visibility with what's going on in the hole. Versus the backhoe, it doesn't matter where you're digging. You got this freaking boom that's right out in front of you, and you're constantly looking around it, and you can't ever get the right angle, and it's a pain in the ass. And then the third reason is I spent about 6 months on one of my jobs bouncing around on a freaking Cat 420, going up and down this job site because I was on erosion control, which means anytime we had any sort of washouts or anything like that, I had to take my 2 laborers, and I had a 420 backhoe that we would literally drive from one end of the job to the other, and it was like a 6 or 7 mile job, and you're just bouncing the whole freaking time, and it's for 6-7 miles on a backhoe. That's a half hour drive, 40 minute drive from one end of the job to the other, and the whole time it's just bouncing the snot out of you. I hated it. And so that's where my true ingrained hatred for the backhoe came in, is because of that Cat 420. Now, to go down the case selling road, Nick, who has a problem with case and my love of case, the reason case backhoes have that weird control flip you have to do with the boom to store it is because the boom on a Cat hangs off at an angle. The boom on a case actually sits forward a little bit. And what that does is it transfers about 20% of the weight of that rear boom up over your drive wheels. And that's why case backhoes rode substantially better than their counterparts. So, knowledge, brother. There's a reason I like case. They do some things right, for sure. Yeah, see, AP, that's where you need to start a channel, man. Show us how you do things overseas, because I'm constantly, I love watching new techniques from different operators, and I'm constantly learning. Like in this situation, I could have done that and saved myself a half hour of digging, or had I done this or approached it this way, that would have saved me a ton of time, or it would have been a lot easier. So that's why I like the community factor for sure, is you get to kind of, I don't want this to be, this was never intended to be me giving knowledge as a one-way street to you guys. This is totally a two-way street, and I love the open dialogue we've got going in these. Ulysses, I was always an employee running other people's equipment. So I had the closest I got was a landscape company, but I didn't really get into any big equipment. So when it came to all the big machines, I've always run for a company. Do I eat babies? I tend to stay away from them. When times get tough, I'm not saying I wouldn't dip into that pool, but for the most part, I do try to stay away from the eating babies aspect of life. Vidar Streinsland. I have no idea who that is, but I have to go look him up. What's he run primarily? Ooh, we're having some fallout issues. Is the stream coming through okay? Because on my end, it's telling me that we're having some buffering issues. I wonder if there's some internet stuff going on tonight. We haven't had that in previous streams. So, good question, Angelo. My wife just came back from up north, and this is, what is it? Now, I think it's Ironfish. Is it Ironfish? Yes, Ironfish Distillery. It's Ironfish Bourbon. It is a bourbon that is aged in cognac barrels, and it is pretty effing good. It's almost got the cinnamony aftertaste of Fireball, not the crazy ridiculous fire retardant taste. It's still very much a bourbon. It's got the smoothness and the niceness to it, but it's got that kind of cinnamon bite to it, and it's really good. So she just brought that back from up north for me. So Nick, I'll have to go check him out. That's I enjoy watching those. In fact, that's one of the things that really turned me on to Danish Construction Channel, is he's really, really good with a tilt rotator. And he's really, I really enjoy watching his stuff. So I will have to go watch Vidar Streinsland. Yeah, it's pretty serious, Angelo. This is pretty serious bourbon. It's also one of those that you have to sip on because it goes down a little too easy. And things could get a little squirrely on the live stream here if I didn't sip it. So I'm thinking, because it's slowing down in here, let's hang out for about 10 more minutes, try to shut this thing down at 9:45 my time, whatever that is, everyone else's time, who in God knows, I don't even know what that is in AP's time, so it's like 2 o'clock in the morning there, 2:45, whatever, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Getting all loose now. Yeah, Nick, that's the thing about those tilt rotators, especially the ones that have the little the pinchers on the back of them. That's what blows me away, is what those guys are capable of doing with that. Like, you'll watch them flip around and pick up a 2x4 like it's a toothpick and scrape the road with it and set it back down. That's a whole other class of operator over there. It's insane. So, Angelo, that is... Oh, I was close, AP. I almost had it. Angelo, I am going to Kentucky next weekend, and I will be down there for a week working with a company that's going to let me run a track loader. So that's the plan, to kind of thaw out a little bit. And then when I come back into town, my buddy down the road here that has that big Braun tile plow that I just posted the video of, he supposedly has a drain tile job coming up that's pretty good size, so I'll come back and film that. And I'm hoping that's right about the time things start to break free a little bit more, to where I can get some more work, because I'm running low on video content, believe it or not. We are working through. It's about to be montage time. Louisville. I'm going to Louisville, Kentucky. And we'll be down there for a week. So it's pretty cool. My parents are going to meet us down there so that they can spend some time with us and the grandkids. And we'll take 2 or 3 days to go see the city. And then I've got it scheduled later in the week that I'll go work with this operator and go run his machine for a couple days. So, and apparently I'm going to dig a basement with a 963 track loader, which I have never run before. I told him don't expect a phenomenal production day. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so yeah, Lexington's not that far away, is it? I don't remember how far away Lexington is. Lexington, Kentucky. Oh yeah, it looks like it's only a half hour or so, but I'm not gonna MapQuest it. How old am I? Wow. I'm not going to Google Map it. So AP, I do have to ask, you being up at 2:30 in the morning, what time do you have to get up for work, man? That has got to be a brutal next day. I'm an old man, and I need to have my like full 9 to 10 hours of sleep unless I want to be grumpy the next day. Like, that's brutal. I can't imagine it. Nick, I have run a 140M. Very limited. I am not a grader operator. I will never claim to be a grader operator. I have not spent any real substantial seat time. I've probably got 7 or 8 hours collectively in a grader. And the 140M was nice. Now, that being said, as a non-grader operator, I thought it was great having all of your controls here on the joysticks. But you do find that most, not all, but most of your old school grader operators actually prefer the pianos, the piano keys, because you can do more functions at the same time. And with the way the functions are on the control sticks, you can't quite do everything you need to at the same time. So not really sure what I hate Matt is referring to there, but okay. Apparently someone's just gonna troll the comment section. Oh, see, yeah, AP. Good Lord, man. I could not do that. I couldn't do that. I have done that because I was forced to, but not because I was watching some random guy on YouTube. I mean, come on, man. Well, on that note, I think we're pretty well dead in here. Let me see how many people are watching. Yeah, we still got 13 guys in here, which shocks me that we've got 13 people still watching. But I think we ought to start wrapping her up, in all honesty. So unless you guys have any last second questions. Who is Matt? Like, who is this Matt character? I don't even know what's happening in the comments now. So yeah, I'm lost. But anyway, before we wrap up, just to remind everyone, and for people who have just logged on to see the very end, hey Nick, thanks for hanging out. Angelo, thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate you guys. For anyone who joined late and didn't hear earlier, we will not be doing the live stream next Sunday because I will be in Kentucky doing some filming. But we will pick up where we left off the following week. So I appreciate all you guys hanging out. As always, if you've got questions, feel free to email me. Feel free to comment on any of the videos. And we'll catch you guys on the next stream. As AP just said, we'll catch you on the next stream here in 2 weeks. AP, go get you some sleep, buddy. And we'll catch you guys next time.